And welcome back to one of the great venues in American sport, Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, home of the Huskers since 1923. Raucous crowd ready to go on a beautiful night for football in the Nebraska capital city. 74 degrees with a light wind and the forecast for a beautiful night.
It's my first time here, Sean. The energy is amazing in this building. Nebraska wants to make a statement, and a strong statement, and they'll have their shot against a tough foe in Virginia Tech.
Virginia Tech won the toss and deferred, so Nebraska will receive the opening kickoff from Justin Meyer. Niles Paul back deep for the kickoff. He brought one back 85 yards for a touchdown against San Jose State. And he'll have another chance to start this game from the 4. Paul, a sophomore from Omaha. He delivered the hit as they went across the boundary on the far sideline. Jacob Sykes made contact with Paul. The Nebraska quarterback is Joe Gans, the senior from Palos Heights, Illinois, on the south side of Chicago. Business administration major. He'll graduate in December. And he is the threat both through the air and with his legs. Last week in their win against New Mexico State, he rushed for a career-high 69 yards.
Yeah, when I think of Joe Gans, there's not an ounce of cockiness in a young man, but there's a boatload of confidence.
And on first down, a play-action pass dumped off in the flat to Nate Swift, their leading receiver, with his 13th catch of the year, the senior out of Hutchinson, Minnesota, tackled by Pernell Sturdivant. After a gain of 3, the rest of the Nebraska starters on offense on the top of your screen, including Marlon Lucky, who's rushed for over 2,000 yards in his career. Gans making his 7th career start. Became the starter late last year when he took over for Sam Keller. Handed off to Quentin Castile, part of a trio of talented I-backs. We'll see Lucky, Roy Halou, and Castile, but Lucky has been the featured ball carrier so far. 100 yards plus against New Mexico State 2 weeks ago in their last game. Swift climbing up most of the receiving lists here at Nebraska. And their offensive line boosted by the return of Leiden Murtha in the last game.
Yeah, I'm talking to Sean Watson, the offensive coordinator. He brings the energy to that offensive line, which will be needed tonight against the tough front 4, the Hokies.
Third down and 3. Lucky is the back. Gans moved under center with 3 wide receivers. Under duress, showing the ability to run, but he didn't get the first down. Stopped about a yard short by Cam Martin, the junior outside linebacker from Martinsville, Virginia. And Bo Pelini with an early decision. 4th down and 1 on his own 41-yard line.
I think you absolutely have to punt the football here unless you try the old trick 'em, and maybe not. Both sending in the big fellas.
After a conversation with Sean Watson, the offensive coordinator, who largely has control of the offense. He's a holdover from Bill Callahan's staff last season. They're 0 for 2 on 4th downs this year. Will they just try to draw the Hokies offside, or will they really run a play? They have a second to snap it. And they might have been successful. There is a flag down. Is it for delay or for the movement right over center by Cordero Thompson?
Delay a game. Number 12 on the offense. 5 yards. Still 4th down.
Well, the crowd wanted the movement for an offside penalty, but instead it's the delay, and now Bo Pelini will have the Huskers punt.
They almost had him. I guarantee you Bud Foster's going to have a conversation with Thompson on that sidelines. I mean, we've seen that since the 60s. Hard count to get you on 3rd and short.
So Dan Titchener will punt. His 30th career game as their starting punter. And of course, when you play Virginia Tech, you always have to be aware of the possibility of a block. Plenty of time for Titchener. Both teams are very good on special teams. Macho Harris spins away from the first 2 coverage men, then breaks tackles. Now the punter to beat. The punter slowed him down long enough to allow Larry Asante to make the tackle. A 27-yard return by the senior Victor Harris of a 44-yard punt.
Actually, Victor does a good job of setting it up, and the coverage isn't bad. What's poor is the tackling. And you see, if you don't get a solid hit on Victor, they'll put you on his highlight film.
So great field position for the Hokies on offense for the first time tonight from the Nebraska 49-yard line. Kenny Lewis Jr. with a tough run through the middle. Tackled by Cody Glenn, the linebacker. Tyrod Taylor is the quarterback, the sophomore from Hampton, Virginia. Started 5 games last year and won all 5 as they won the ACC and went to the Orange Bowl. The plan was for Tyrod to redshirt this year, while Sean Glennon, a senior, played quarterback. But after the offense sputtered in the opening game, the decision was made to take the red shirt off Taylor, and he's now the starter. Running right. Kenny Lewis Jr. breaks tackles and picks up a first down. Here's Aaron Andrews.
Sean, we're going to have to keep an eye on Tyrod Taylor's left ankle. He didn't take the final 8 snaps in last week's game at North Carolina. And talking to head coach Frank Beamer and offensive coordinator Brian Steinspring, they're going to keep an eye on it all game long. They said it was very tender this week during practice, and there's something they just hope doesn't hurt him again, but they are not taking any chances with him here tonight.
Beamer and the Hokies arrive here in Lincoln off that rousing come-from-behind win in Chapel Hill. Lewis again for a hard-earned 2. He got banged back by the center of that defense, led by Zach Potter. Beamer's young Hokies trailed the Tar Heels in the second half last week, 17-3. Rallied to win on a fourth-quarter field goal, 20-17, giving Frank his 212th career win. Only Joe Paterno and Bobby Bowden have more among coaches at this level. Jim Tressel tied him at 212 with the Ohio State win today over Minnesota. Taylor out of the gun. Has a man wide open down the far sideline. Caught. No. Out of bounds. Dyrell Roberts was wide open. And Chris, perhaps that's an example of the young and inexperienced receiving corps, as he didn't know where he was relative to the sideline.
You see Prince of Mukamara gets caught up inside, and Dyrell has a shot at making that catch, but his feet leave the ground. And as you mentioned, Sean, you have to have field awareness in where you are, and that will come with experience. But the development of Tyrod Taylor depends on the development of the young receivers like Dyrell Roberts.
Frank Beamer says we're young, but we're talented. You just hope that with each week his young team gets better. 3rd down and 8. Taylor given plenty of time by a good offensive line. He's dropped for a sack as he ran out of time. Pierre Allen, the defensive end, the sophomore from Denver, Colorado.
Greg Boone can be a factor right here. Look at Tyrod. Greg Boone's going to come across on the in route. He's wide open, and Tyrod does not see him because of the pressure from Sue. Sue gets in his throwing lane. Watch Greg Boone right here. Look, he's all alone. All you got to do is deliver the football, and you got a first down.
Instead, it's 4th down and a punt for Brent Bowden, junior from Centerville, Virginia. Hangs up a high spiral that takes a soft bounce and is down near the 5-yard line by the snapper, Colin Carroll. No score. We're just underway in Lincoln.
Central on ABC.
Such great tradition here at Nebraska, including 5 national championships, most recently in 1997 when Scott Frost quarterbacked them to the win of the Orange Bowl over Peyton Manning and the Tennessee Volunteers. Shared the national title that year with Michigan. No score as Nebraska goes on offense for the 2nd time tonight from their own 6, and it's Marlon Lucky out near the 10 where he ran into Pernell Sturdivant. This is one of those places, Chris, you really can feel the history, and there are visual reminders all over the place.
Yeah, and that's something that they want the players that come in that are here is recognize your history, and Bo Pelini embraces the thought of regaining their history and their tradition.
The winningest team in the country since 1970, Nebraska, starting with the years of Bob Devaney and through Tom Osborne. Of course, the recent years have not been so happy. Orion Martin took down Marlon Lucky after a 4-yard game. Bo Pelini was here as an assistant coach in 2003 when then athletic director Steve Peterson made the decision to fire Frank Solich despite a 9-win regular season. Wanted to change the style of football. Pelini was the interim coach and won the Alamo Bowl against Michigan State, but did not get the job full-time. It went to Bill Callahan after a protracted search, and that did not work out so well for Nebraska. 3rd down and 2, and the pass is batted down. John Graves, who's had an outstanding start to the season, got right in the face of Joe Gans.
Well, we've done 4 games so far this year, and John Graves is the most dominant defensive tackle that I watched. Not only his physical presence, but right there, the mental part of the game, 3-step drop. You're not going to get there in a pass rush, so what you do, you recognize, get in the throwing lane, and get that big paw up in there and reject it.
So Macho Harris waiting near midfield for the second punt of the night from Dan Titchener. High snap, and here comes the rush, and they block it out of the back of the end zone. Stephon Virgil, one of their best players. They put starters on these special teams units, and it has paid off time and time again throughout the years for Frank Beamer and the Hokies.
You see Stephon right here coming from the outside untouched. First of all, he gets a good get off, and you get no depth by your punt protection. Here comes Stephon and takes the ball right off the foot. Big play as always. Frank Beamer, Virginia Tech Hokies. And Sean, Nebraska worked hard on punt protection this week, and it didn't pay off. We talked to their players. They said for 5 or 6 days they worked on punt protection, and right away Virginia Tech says, this is what we do, and we do it well.
Blocked 121 kicks in 259 games under Frank Beamer, including 60 punts. Their 4th block of this season. Special teams in the Beamer era had scored 41 touchdowns. This one good for a safety, thanks to Stephon Virgil. Been a great playmaker on defense so far this year for the Hokies, and now on special teams as well.
You know, Nebraska caught a little bit of a break after the block that it wasn't recovered for a touchdown, and they got away with just giving up a safety.
So Titchener will free kick it from the 20. They were a man short, and now the Huskers getting lined up and ready to go. Well, you know it's coming when you face Virginia Tech, and sometimes you still can't do anything about it. Victor Harris up the middle and banged down at the 44-yard line by Cody Glenn. Now let's send you back to Matt Weiner in New York and get an update.
All right, thanks, Sean. Our nominee for the Pontiac game-changing performance of the day, North Carolina and Miami. The Hurricanes with a chance to win it on the game's final play. Robert Marsh's pass tipped and into the hands of Jermaine Goddard for the game-winning pick. Vote for your Pontiac game-changing performance. Go to ESPN.com.
All right, Matt, thank you. Crowd trying to make life difficult here in Lincoln for Tyrod Taylor and the Virginia Tech Hokies. On 1st and 10, he was looking deep, threw it up for grabs, and it's broken up. Nice move on the ball by Armando Murillo. Senior safety out of Tampa, Florida, had excellent coverage on the freshman Dyrell Roberts. There are tonight's impact players on offense for Virginia Tech. Tyrod Taylor says he'd like to be a pass-first quarterback, but he can hurt you with his feet. But you want Greg Boone to be more of a factor.
I think that's what helps a young quarterback when you add another weapon, and that's what he can be. And, of course, Victor Harris wants to be an impact player on offense to help Tyrod get going.
We've seen some snaps in the last 2 games at receiver. Lewis and the Huskers were not fooled. Lewis swarmed under. Dominican Sue in the middle of that defensive line, the junior out of Portland, Oregon.
Yeah, he's a big-time player right here. And watch what he'll do. He's going to win his individual battle. Just beats him inside and plays off 2 blocks, then tackles the man high so he does not fall forward for yardage. Excellent job by Sue of getting penetration and making a play and not giving one guy for one guy.
On 3rd and 10, a 4-man rush and good enough for Nebraska. As Taylor is sacked back at the 42 by Zach Potter and Cody Glenn.
Just say come with a 4-man rush and you see Cody Glenn come into your picture late, but his pressure by Sue, Zach Potter comes, Steinkühler comes. These guys are playing like they want the black shirts back. The black shirts are hidden, but they want to get them back.
There's a long-standing tradition. Black shirts given a reward outstanding defensive play. Pelini's been hiding those black shirts. Said we need to earn them. We haven't earned them yet. Bowden's punt is muffed by Niles Paul. And the Huskers got it back as Armando Murillo was alerting in the right place. 43-yard punt, and then the Cornhuskers lost 5 after the miscue.
You know, it's almost like the reputation of the special teams of Virginia Tech. They're in Nebraska's head. Now, Paul has to either catch it underhand or overhand, but not in between hands.
So it's 2-0 Virginia Tech, which is kind of a typical score for them in recent years.
Part of National Stay-at-Home Week on ABC.
No hidden fees. Powered by the G6 from Pontiac, official performance machines of the NCAA. And Allstate, proud sponsors of college football. Are you in good hands?
Tailgate week continues from Lincoln, Nebraska. Sean McDonough, Chris Spielman, Aaron Andrews, delighted to have you with us. Virginia Tech leads 2-0. A block punt that went through the end zone. The only points of the game. Joe Gans comes out slinging and throws an interception. Macho Harris inside the 10 and out of bounds near the 7-yard line. It was intended for Mike McNeil, but Harris saw it coming. His 2nd interception of the season. He had a big one last week against North Carolina and the 11th of his outstanding career.
Well, this is late right here, and Macho kind of baits him being at corner. Sloughed off on the flat. Then he read where the corner route was coming from McNeil and just breaks on the football. He fooled him. He fooled him. Macho fooled him.
Well, the 2 points on the board for Virginia Tech. Their first points in the first quarter this year. It took the special teams to do it. Now the defense trying to give the offense a gimme. They've given the Hokie the ball on the 5-yard line. Darren Evans, the redshirt freshman who's been their leading rusher through the first 4 games. Got them down near the 2, tackled by Tyler Wortman. Frank Beamer would like to see that offense perk up earlier. They've had to come from behind in recent weeks to win 3 in a row.
And all that does is build confidence in this young offensive football team. Getting points on the board.
Evans stays in the game. They have 2 fullbacks in as well. And Evans runs left and gets a yard, but he's still a yard short of the end zone. Another big play by Zach Potter, one of the few players who was recruited by the coaching staff of which Bo Pelini was a part back in 2003 when he was an assistant. Zach's a senior from Omaha.
Now this is a battle of wills right here. And you could tell after the defensive performance of last year, this is a big-time statement for Nebraska right now. Find out who's the man on that goal line.
The strength of this Virginia Tech offense, the offensive line. Can they win this battle? The pitch outside. Touchdown, Darren Evans.
Right there. O'Hanlon does a good job of turning it back in, but all his reinforcements were on the ground. Sergio Renner gets a key block, and they seal that corner and make it a short corner, and Evans just walked through the park.
Dustin Keys attempting the extra point. Fifth-year senior kicker, first-year starter. He adds it. And that's the formula for Virginia Tech. The special teams and now the defense. Helping mightily with the point production. 9-0 Hokies first quarter here in Lincoln, Nebraska.
Central on ABC.
A quick start for Virginia Tech on the road in the state of Nebraska for the first time, leading 9-0. The only other meeting between these two programs was in the Orange Bowl in 1996. Nebraska won 41-21. Frank Beamer said we learned a lot that day about where we wanted to be as a program. Wanted to play with the same intensity and passion as Nebraska and have that kind of depth at various positions. Now it's Nebraska trying to emulate Virginia Tech here in 2008. Niles Paul returned the Justin Meyer kickoff near the 25-yard line. Greg Biffle looks to go 3 for 3 by taking his third straight chase race. Points leader Carl Edwards, Jimmy Johnson, and the rest of the chase drivers will be right on his heels as the chase heads to Kansas. It's the NASCAR Sprint Cup Series at Kansas on ABC Sunday. Coverage begins with NASCAR Countdown at 1 Eastern Time. Here are the current point standings.
Start doing some bumping. If you're Kevin Harvick, you're 101 down. Rubbin's racing. That's what I know about NASCAR. Rubbin's racing. Get physical.
Kick.
They were offside on the kickoff, so they will do it again. I know one man who'll be watching that NASCAR race on Sunday is Nick Marshman, the offensive lineman for Virginia Tech. He is a huge NASCAR fan, says he likes to relax Sunday, recover from the bumps and bruises of the football game the day before. And he has traveled to a lot of the big racetracks in the eastern part of the country to watch NASCAR races in person. There's Nick, and he is in a NASCAR fantasy league, so you know he follows it very closely.
You know, the thing I'm amazed, and Nick can relate to this, is the teamwork that's involved. The drivers get all the credit, but imagine the team chemistry that's needed between the pit crews and the guy in the headphones telling them that there's smoke ahead, all that good stuff. You can see I'm not going to be an analyst for NASCAR, Sean.
There's Eric Crouch on the sideline for Nebraska. A lot of alums here this weekend to cheer on the Cornhuskers. They said they think they might have a record crowd of more than 85,000 here tonight. Justin Meyer will kick it off again, this time from the 25. Kerensky Gillian, one of the fastest Cornhuskers, returned it to the 33. So he picked up about 8 yards on the re-kick. Matt Reedy made the tackle for the Hokies. Well, the offense has been very good for Nebraska in their 3-0 start. Wins over Western Michigan, San Jose State, and New Mexico State all at home. They've averaged 40 points per game, but not so much tonight.
Got some field position to work with here. I really think they got to start throwing the ball down the field, not play action, just do a regular pass to Lucy. You'll see the safeties of Virginia Tech. They're playing at 8 yards.
Similar offense to the West Coast offense used by the previous staff under Bill Callahan. There's the deep throw from Gans, and it's caught by Mike McNeil. He's to the Virginia Tech 39-yard line. Cam Chancellor, the safety, made the tackle. But 27 yards on the big hitter to Mike McNeil.
And I think Sean Watson sees what I see. When you have safeties that are sitting here at 8 yards, McNeil's going to release right down the seam, and it's just pitch and catch for Joe Gans. A good job of McNeil going up with his hands and coming down with two hands so the ball doesn't get knocked out on contact.
First down for Nebraska. Roy Helu says hello to the yellow line, indicating another first down. Near the 31, tackled by Cam Chancellor.
They got a nice little combination going at I-back, and Helu, to me, watching him on film, his greatest asset is his vision and feet. And right there, he put both on display.
They have three very good I-backs in Lucky Helu and Castile. Helu was their leading rusher in their first two games. The easy wins over Western Michigan and San Jose State. Nebraska will open this season with 5 straight home games. This is the 4th. They have Missouri in here for a big Big 12 game next week. Gaines has a man wide open. Touchdown, Nebraska. Mike McNeil again.
Mike McNeil's going to sneak across the field right here. They get away with a hold on that tight end, but it actually ends up picking number 17, Cam Chancellor, and Mike McNeil just runs to the corner.
And Alex Henry adds the extra point. Well, after doing less than nothing in their first 3 possessions, the Huskers score, leading to the traditional release of the balloons after the first score for Nebraska. Took only 3 plays to go 68 yards.
And that is Go Big Red.
Sean McDonough, Chris Spielman, Aaron Andrews at Soldot Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska. The Cornhuskers on the board. Mike McNeil has 5 catches this season. 3 of them have gone for touchdowns with his quick strike Nebraska offense.
Ron Watson was talking to us yesterday about McNeil. What he brings is some speed, a tight end that's able to run, which puts pressure on safeties. Pelini's squad right there, they needed that.
Sean Watson says Mike McNeil is everything we want our tight ends to be. Adi Kumalik kicked off. Kenny Lewis Jr. breaks free and is tackled from behind at the 44-yard line. A 41-yard return. Here's Matt Weiner in New York with another update.
And Sean, here's a Taco Bell update from Athens, Georgia, where Alabama is beating up on Georgia over on ESPN. This is Roy Upchurch, 4-yard touchdown run. 24-0 the Crimson Tide over the black-shirted Bulldogs. LSU also up early on Mississippi State.
Alabama's for real.
Yeah, it has been a wild day throughout the college football landscape. Movement and now flags for a false start against
5 yards, still first down.
Andre Smith.
Right there, the noise, that's a factor. This crowd is re-energized. Not that it lost a lot of energy, it lost a little energy, but they gained it all back with the big pass play to McNeil.
On 1st and 15, Tyrod Taylor. Good catch in the flat of a high throw. Danny Cole, the redshirt freshman from Lexington, Virginia, with a 6-yard gain. Here's Aaron.
Sean, just to add on Chris's point about the noise, Spiels, you're right. The crowd was back right there in that last play, and that's something offensive coordinator Brian Steinspring said that they were very worried about, getting this young offense to just calm down. They only practiced one day in their closed facility with the loudspeakers, but come on, can you really practice this noise?
No, or this enthusiasm.
Every game since 1962 has been a sellout here. Longest such streak in the country. Quick throw and another catch by Danny Cole. He's very near a first down. Interesting what Brian Steinsbring said about Danny Cole. He said, well, a lot of kids were playing PlayStation. He was at football camps learning how to play solid fundamental football.
See it right there, and that was solid fundamental football by Tyrod Taylor, recognizing the blitz. O'Hanlon, the safety, tried to cover the flat area, but by position alone, he's out of position. Good recognition and growth by Tyrod Taylor.
3 yards short of a first down on 3rd down. And Kenny Lewis Jr. picks it up. His dad was a football and track star at Tech. It is in the Tech Sports Hall of Fame. Kenny wears his dad's number 20 in tribute.
There's no greater honor a father can have as far as sports goes. And he's running hard. The offensive line for Virginia Tech, Sean, they're doing a good job of changing that line of scrimmage, meaning pushing the Cornhuskers back just enough for those backs to squirt through.
In the flat, too high, over the head of his fullback Kenny Jefferson, with Cody Glenn in coverage.
That's the thing with Tyrod. It's just a little bit inconsistent. He makes a good throw. Then right there, you got a sure 5 or 6 yard gain, an easy throw, and he lofts it over the head. Just take your time and deliver the football. He'll get better. The more reps, the more things he sees, the better he will get.
Under 2 minutes to go in the first quarter. 9-7 Virginia Tech. 2nd and 10 for the Hokies. Taylor looked like a design run. He's back to the line, and that's all. Ran into Pierre Allen, who has stepped in the last couple of weeks for Barry Turner, one of their best rush ends, starter, who is out likely for the year with a broken leg.
This is an easy play to recognize if you're a defensive player. Anytime that running back comes at you full speed, disregard any type of pass key that you have. It's a pure run. And I'm not sure if Tyrod's running like he can run. He's gimping just a little bit on that ankle.
On 3rd and 10. Flushed for a moment. Now steps up and zings one to an open receiver. Caught inside the 5. Andre Smith, the tight end, got behind the defense, and Armando Murillo had to react and prevent the touchdown. 40 yards, 1st and goal, Hokies.
In zone defense, and the Pelini brothers will tell you this, it's all about being deeper than the deepest. As a defensive back, you got to get deeper than the deepest. What happens is Tyrod starts scrambling around. You see Armando right here, they kind of fall asleep. I said, wait, something's got to go on. I got to find a receiver when he starts scrambling and get deeper than the deepest. And Tyrod did a good job of throwing across his body to complete it to his tight end down the field.
He is a talented thrower. Now using his legs to get back to the line, perhaps a half yard, and that's all. They're actually going to spot him outside of the line of scrimmage. Chased out by Cody Glenn, who's had a terrific start to the year for Nebraska. He's their leading tackler. That outside linebacker, a senior who prior to this year was a running back. Part of that crowded offensive backfield for Nebraska. It was obvious he wasn't going to get much playing time. Bo Pelini saw him in the spring, liked what he saw, ran the idea about playing linebacker by him. Cody said, yeah, I'd rather play 60 or 70 snaps than just a few. Bo wants a timeout. And he's going to get it. When we spoke with Bo Pelini yesterday, he said it took about 4 snaps of watching Glenn on defense until he realized this is going to work. This young man has the skills necessary to be an excellent linebacker at this level.
And you know, I played with Bo Pelini at Ohio State, and he can recognize talent, and I always thought he was a smart football coach. But when you can go around and recognize the weakness of your team, and they're very thin at linebacker, well, I'm going to take a good athlete that's tough, and I'll turn him into a linebacker. And I tell you, I've never heard of a tailback going to linebacker senior year, or excuse me, we're in Nebraska, I-back. But he's done it, and he's done a great job with that transition.
Yeah, he said when he took the job, he was really worried about the linebacker position. They had Philip Dillard, who was really the only experienced linebacker. He weighed 267 pounds when Bo got here. They've made a couple of walk-ons into linebackers, and so far it's working out.
Yeah, and they're doing a good job, and they're playing hard. But, Sean, like I told you, I don't think, you know, the walk-ons are nice, and they work hard, and they earn scholarships. They're good college football players. But if you want to be a program of prominence, you can't be playing with walk-ons. Maybe 1 or 2, but when you have 5 or 6 or 7 on your team, then you got a little bit of a problem.
8th play of the drive for Virginia Tech. Second and goal from the 3. The handoff straight ahead. And Darren Evans is driven back. It's that man Cody Glenn again, the first-year linebacker.
No, I'm so impressed with him right here. You see, he shows great feet. He's going to run, stop, and there's this I-back skills coming into play, and a good job of tackling high and putting his face up, seeing what he hits and hits what he sees, and wrapping him up. But that's instincts. He doesn't have all the X's and O's in his mind down yet, but he has the instincts to be a good player.
And good genes as well. He's related to Broderick Thomas, the former standout here at Nebraska, who went on to have a fine NFL career. Played with you.
Another former teammate. Broderick, I'll tell you, Broderick was a tough player. I loved playing with him because he played with enthusiasm and passion for the game.
End of the first quarter, Virginia Tech leads 9-7. ESPN's Saturday Night Football on ABC will return after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
$10.
A new hurricane forms in the Atlantic. Kyle's latest track at 11.
And welcome back to ESPN Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. On we go to the second quarter. Virginia Tech leads 9-7. And they're looking at third down and goal at the 2-yard line.
Chance for redemption for the Husker defense, winning a goal line stand. Virginia Tech won the man award on the first one.
Full house backfield with 2 fullbacks. Tyrod Taylor has Boone open and overthrew him. Greg Boone was wide open, running to the corner of the end zone, and Taylor put a bit too much air under it.
It's too easy to miss. And again, this is the inconsistency of the young man. Just throw it. He's wide open. Nobody around. Throw behind him a little bit. Good call by Brian Steinspring, the offensive coordinator. Tyrod, just execute and you're up. 16-7. That's too easy to miss.
We've seen some of the perils of youth and inexperience from this offense already. An open receiver ran out of bounds before he could catch the ball. And then a poor throw there by the sophomore Taylor. So here's Dustin Keys with a 19-yard field goal. And it's 12-7. Keys is a 5th-year senior who prior to this year had dressed for only 1 game in his Hokie career. That was the Orange Bowl last year. He paid his own way over the summer to come back for a 5th year, and then at the last minute a scholarship opened up, but he was prepared to pay his own way on a student loan this year when it became apparent he was going to be the starting kicker for the Hokies and fulfill what had been a dream for him since he was a very young boy.
Good thing for him, and he's a valuable part of that Virginia Tech special.
Let's take a look now at our Pacific Life game summary. "75 yards of offense for Virginia Tech. That is so often the case when they are successful. Special teams and defense playing a big part in their point scoring tonight.
And one thing that has not shown up on the Pac Life game summary is missed opportunities. The pass to Boone in the corner of the end zone on 3rd and 2 was a missed opportunity and missed points.
Justin Meyer to kick off. High and short. And tumbling down to Niles Paul. Still has work to do as he goes across the width of the field and is dragged down at the 25-yard line by Lorenzo Williams. Just an 8-yard return after all that effort.
Lorenzo was well coached, and I've been watching him all the kickoffs tonight. He's making all the tackles because Paul keeps trying to go outside, but Lorenzo understands through his coaching that I'm contained, and all that is nothing will get outside me no matter what. He's done a good job of upholding his responsibility.
As Frank Beamer coaches the special teams himself. Joe Gans throws the quick hitter on first down to the far side of the field to Kerensky Gillian. And the freshman from Leander, Texas, was chopped down by Stephon Virgil in the flat after a pickup of 5.
That's a good play. That's just like a toss sweep. And they're trying, Sean Watson's trying to get him involved in the offense. And one way to get it is get the ball out to him in the flat and see what he can do in space.
Hokies crowding the line of scrimmage. Gans steps up away from the rush. Might have been across the line of scrimmage when he threw, complete to Marlon Lucky. There are no flags down the Hokies sidelines. Irate. A couple of assistant coaches hollering at the official on their side of the field. And Frank Beamer is several yards out onto the field to say, hey, Gans was across the line, but there is no flag.
Yeah, let's take a look here. You see the blue line. That signifies the line of scrimmage. Good job of knowing his offense and where it is. And I think it's a good pass. He jumps across, but the ball was delivered out of his hand before he crossed the blue line.
So it's good for a first down. He passed to Lucky. He caught 75 balls last year. That was a single season Nebraska record.
Fumble.
Might have been deflected. Picked up by Niles Paul. He gets a block from his quarterback, Gans. There is a flag down in the middle of the field. And after all that, Paul goes out of bounds for a loss of 6. Tackled by Victor Harris. It's against Nebraska.
Holding call. It's a good job of Niles Paul recognizing that was a backwards lateral and scooping it up and trying to make something. Look at Joe Gans hitting worlds, trying to get a block number 6 at defensive end.
Holding. Offense. Number 69. The penalty will be declined. Second down.
I'll try to hear Niles Paul. Recognition of a bad pass behind the line of scrimmage, picks it up and makes something happen. Gans throws a block for Worlds to see if he can get the end.
Second and 16, back at the 33. Nebraska down by 5. An option look. Here's another one of the new wrinkles in the return to the good old days. Taking advantage of Gans' running ability, Brett Warren made the tackle. Gans, with this offense now coordinated by Sean Watson, they want more quarterback runs. A few more option-type looks.
Yeah, and Joe's aware that he's not going to put the numbers that he put up at the end of last year as far as throwing the football because they want to become more balanced.
Well, Joe said when we visited with him yesterday, we're not going to throw the ball 60 times a game like we did last year. They were 7th in the nation in pass offense last year. They're striving to be more balanced. Third down and 10. Steps up, throws it short. Lucky has the first down. And he's out of bounds finally. Marked out at the 32. He walked the tightrope for quite a while before Purnell Sturdivant got him out of bounds. 29 yards, first down, Nebraska.
This is a matchup that Nebraska will take all night long. Marlon Lucky, the I-back, gets matched up right here with P-Stump, Sturdivant. Sturdivant makes the error of looking back at the quarterback. When you do that, a good, fast running back like Lucky will just pull away.
Sturdivant, a first-year starter as a senior, had to wait behind some outstanding linebackers. Another option-type look, and Lucky got banged down after a gain of 1 by Sturdivant. Sturdivant, when we talked to them during the week, said, yeah, there were times I got frustrating, but it wasn't like I was second string behind some guys who couldn't play. I was second string behind all ACC, All-American type guys like Xavier Debe and Vince Hall. And even though Purnell's only going to be a starter for 1 year, he believes that he might have a chance to play at the next level himself.
Well, I studied him on film, and he's got a lot of natural tools, very strong. He told us, Sean, he popped a 40-inch vertical in a 4.5 40. That'll turn some heads in the NFL front offices.
Second and 9. Gaines wants to throw it short and threw it too short at his intended target. In the flat. Looking for Hunter Tifatiller, who's part of their tight end group, but has also seen action in recent weeks at fullback. Their starter Thomas Lawson had his appendix taken out a couple of weeks ago, so Tifatiller has played some fullback.
A good guy to have with that kind of variety in his game to line up at both positions. And an uncharacteristic poor throw by Joe Gans. Normally he's on target.
They're down to 9. They're on the fringe of Henry's field goal range. Be about a 48-yarder from here. The pass deflected and falls incomplete. Good move on the throw by Cam Martin as Gans was trying to find Mike McNeil again.
That seems to be his comfort level right now. And if he was a little bit more patient, he had Richardson scooting down the sidelines.
Well, they will try the long field goal from Henry, sophomore from Omaha, who missed one in their last game 2 weeks ago against New Mexico State. He had made his first 12 field goal tries of his career before he missed the 35-yarder. This is a 49-yard attempt. Plenty of leg, and it is right down the middle. Well, the kicking has been nothing short of remarkable here at Nebraska for years. When you combine extra points and field goals, they've now made 94 of their last 95 kicks. And this one was perfect. It's 12-10, Virginia Tech in the second quarter. Aerial coverage for tonight's game courtesy of the Outback Steakhouse Airship. Bloomin' Onion 1. The Bloomin' Onion 1 Airship is a fan favorite every week on ABC ESPN college football broadcasts. Career-long field goal for Alex Henry, officially a 48-yarder. Would have been good for much longer than that. And Nebraska's down by 2 as Adi Kunalik kicked off. Down to Davon Morgan, and he stumbles across the 25. Tripped up by Lance Thorell, 18-yard return. And Morgan is hurt.
I saw that when he was running. He planted with his right foot, and it looked like he's holding his knee. And it looked like his knee did give out. I hate to see that. Non-contact injuries, which are quite common in football, unfortunately. See that right knee. And he did a little hop skip when he planted. He didn't want to put any weight on it.
And that's why he went down in obvious pain without being tackled. As they tend to Morgan, the sophomore from Richmond, will head back to New York. And Matt Weiner, here's the Sports Center right now.
All right, John, Sports Center right now, powered by Vizio. Let's get you a baseball update. The Phillies beat the Nationals 4-3 to win their second straight National League East title. The Mets win, Brewers lose, so they're tied in the NL wildcard race. Meanwhile, Florida turned it over for the first 3 times all season. Ole Miss blocked this potential game-tying extra point in the final minutes to beat Florida at the Swamp. No fewer than 4 top 10 teams will go down this week.
Morgan helped off the field, and the Hokies come up 1st and 10. Taylor has a man. First down out across the 35. Andre Smith, the tumbling catch. They're coming out leaning more heavily on the pass tonight, and they have receivers wide open all over the field.
And that's a good sign if you're Virginia Tech to get that young man going. And listening to Andre Ware today, he made a great point about young quarterbacks is they're going to make great plays, they're going to make bad plays, and you just got to weather the storm with them. That was a nice throw again, rolling to his left, throwing across his body on a bootleg.
Back to the run with Kenny Lewis. He gets 8 and then got collared along the near sideline. Run out by Philip Dillard, the linebacker whom we were speaking earlier. Now is felt 235. When Bo Pelini got here, he was 267.
Man, just had to get disciplined. and his eating habits. Virginia Tech, they're used to running the football, Sean. I mean, you can't go wrong if you're a physical football team. And right now, I think their offensive line is doing an outstanding job. And the one thing Nebraska lacks is depth on that defensive front. They're wearing them down just a little bit.
The strength of this offense is the offensive line. That hasn't been the case in recent years, but they have 4 starters back, and they help pave the way for Evans to pick up the first down. And now he is not getting up. Evans, a highly touted recruit out of Indianapolis, Indiana, redshirted last year. He was the National EA Sports High School Player of the Year in 2006 when he rushed for over 2,800 yards and 61 touchdowns in one season. That was an Indiana State record, as you might expect.
He's an explosive young man right there. I think he's the classic case of falling on the football. With Asante hitting him from behind, getting that pressure, dropping him on that ball, knocking the wind at him. Good to see him run off the field.
Frank Beamer says, I've had to coach hard this year. Some years you have a veteran returning team and it's not as taxing. He said this year with so much youth and experience, we are really coaching hard. A lot of fancy work by Taylor, well executed fakes, and Kenny Lewis took advantage, rumbling for what looks to be another first down. And yet another injured player on the field. It's Larry Asante, the safety, who made the tackle for the Huskers.
It's getting to be physical out there, but when we get to the replay, what you're going to see is, I think, a mix-up on the Cornhuskers. See what See, Asante's going to come in and make the play. It could be a shoulder, but you got to wrap up. You'll protect yourself that way.
Or a head injury.
Yeah, somebody got a knee to the head.
There. And knock yourself out tackling like that. As they tend to Asante. We'll take a break and return to Lincoln, Nebraska right after this.
It worked.
Larry Asante went off the field under his own power, a little bit wobbly after he made contact with the defender. First contact with his helmet. It's a first down for Virginia Tech, leading 12-10 in the second quarter. From the Nebraska 35, Kenny Lewis. That's a 12-yard gain. First down. Here's Aaron.
Guys, just an update from Virginia Tech's sideline. Sophomore Davon Morgan, he is out of the game right now with a right sprained knee. And Joel Evans, we saw him go down. He gave the thumbs up to the sideline that he's fine. He just got hit the stomach pretty good. Spiels, you're right. This is definitely getting physical. Both teams telling me before the game that's what they wanted to do, beat up on each other.
And right now, that offensive line is beating up on that front 7 with the Cornhusker D.
Lewis trying to reverse his field and find some running room. He never did. 9 carries for 50 yards rushing for Lewis. Demicon Sue made the tackle. No gain on that play. That'll be second down and 10. And Evans has come back onto the field now to spell Lewis. Much there for Evans. Sue again, and Ty Steinkuhler, the son of the former standout Dean Steinkuhler. Philip Dillard also there.
And why that play didn't work, it was designed to go outside. And the running back hits it up inside. All your big fellas in the big pants are heading to the outside. You'd be wise to follow the big pants around the corner.
Third down and 9. Hokies trying to keep the drive alive. 2 out of 6 on third down tonight. Lots of time for Taylor. Running out of time now and shoved out of bounds, well short of the first down by Philip Dillard. A gain of a couple on the play. That's a play perhaps Dillard couldn't have made in the spring when he was 267. Both believes that we want him to be able to play in space, and he's become a much more complete football player, down about 30 pounds.
You know, well thought of, Sean, because I was just going to jump on it. 267, Dillard doesn't make the play. 235, Dillard can run and makes a play.
So here's Dustin Keys trying a 38-yard field goal. Holder's actually outside the hash marks. And it is good. Well, how good must their kickers have been the last 2 years if this guy had to wait 5 years to be the kicker and was willing to pay his own way to do it?
Love the Hokies.
Welcome back to Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska, where they have set a stadium attendance record here tonight, watching Virginia Tech and Nebraska play. 85,831. We've added on to this stadium in recent years, but that defeats the previous big crowd of 85,800 for the Colorado game here in 2006. 31 more people in the stands here tonight. 293rd consecutive sellout dating back to 1962. Niles Paul returns the kickoff, and a good one. Out to the 39-yard line. 26-yard return. Jacob Sykes made the tackle.
Won't you tell me that on game night that this is the third largest city in the state of Nebraska?
Yes, it would be. And they really like the night games. They're 26-3 all time here at night since they first started playing the occasional night game here in the mid-'80s. During the 292 previous sellouts, their home record here is 255 wins and 37 losses. They're trailing by 5 tonight. Roy Halou for about a half yard, and that's it. Looks like they're going to mark it right back on the line of scrimmage. Red zone alert over on ESPN2. LSU and Mississippi State doing battle, and the ball is in the red zone with LSU on the move, trying to add to their lead.
Started off in the Southeast Conference. Crazy things happened today.
Ole Miss could easily be undefeated. They had a couple of heartbreaking losses and then put it all together in the win today. The missed extra point by Florida, the difference. Gans runs out of bounds, short of the first down at the 43-yard line. 4-yard gain. Well, it started Thursday night with USC getting upset at Oregon State, and then the upsets continuing today. Florida losing at home. Wisconsin, despite one turnover after another by Michigan, lost in Ann Arbor. Wake Forest went down to Navy, and Clemson lost to Maryland after they led early. And when you're sizing up the biggest disappointments in the country right now, Clemson would have to be at or near the top of any list.
Absolutely.
Gans throws incomplete. Had a run to his left. He was looking for Nate Swift. There's a flag down back near the line of scrimmage. Wonder if this time they caught him for being across the line of scrimmage. He was close earlier.
The quarterback was beyond the line when he threw the ball. It's an illegal forward pass. The penalty carries 5 yards and a loss of down. Penalty administered 5 yards from the spot of the pass.
This is where Joe has to make a decision, try to make somebody miss and get that first down. It looks like he had room to run. If he can make the defensive back, Grimm, miss, chance to get the first down, but Cody Grimm gave him a nice little lick. Bud Foster told us he's quite a football player. They like inserting him into the lineup.
Yeah, former walk-on, the son of Russ Grimm, the former Hog for the Washington Redskins, played on their Super Bowl teams, now a coach with the Arizona Cardinals.
He's a tough guy, believe me, I know firsthand. A lot of headaches hitting that big fella.
And Titchener to punt. He had one blocked earlier for a safety. This time a fair catch signal made by Macho Harris at the 24-yard line. Time for the Aflac trivia question. This week's question is, since the Orange Bowl's inception in 1935, it has been played in every calendar year but one. What was that year?
Well, that Duck has a tough one tonight.
Well, I'm going to guess there's a hook to these two teams. The only time they've met prior to tonight was in the Orange Bowl, which I believe was on New Year's Eve 1996.
Well, you're the wizard.
Usually they play the Orange Bowl on New Year's Day, so I'm going to guess it was 1997, but I don't know. Deep ball and caught. Boy, their offenses look good tonight. If they're looking for rapid improvement from a young group, they might be getting exactly what they were hoping for. Jarrett Boykin, a 34-yard reception for the true freshman out of Matthews, North Carolina.
Well, they're getting some help from the Pelini-led defense. The Pelini's-led defense, because this is a mental error. Boykin is left on alone and unchecked outside, and recognition by Tyrod Taylor exploits the mental error by the Cornhuskers.
Well, they've already thrown for 102 yards. That's better than their 99-yard per game average coming in. Evans, the ball carrier. On the previous play, it was good to see Larry Asante back on the field for Nebraska after he went off a little bit wobbly a while back. We mentioned the previous meeting between these two was in the Orange Bowl at Pro Player Stadium. Jason Peter with a big play in the game, 31-yard fumble return for a touchdown. Scott Frost providing his usual outstanding leadership, and Nebraska won 41-21. Said at the time, Frank Beamer said Nebraska was really the model of what he wanted his program to become. In many ways, they've accomplished that goal with 15 straight bowl appearances, an active streak. Here's Taylor on the run, chased out short of the first down by the linebacker Blake Lawrence. Well, the answer to the Aflac trivia question is 1997. And I did not know ahead of time. Just used a little deductive reasoning.
You know what? I never question you. You know what's going on. Yeah, who were the announcers on that game?
I did the play. I can never remember who the analyst was. So don't let them talk.
That sounds familiar.
That was a good game. Ken Oxendine ran for 150 yards for Virginia Tech that night. On 3rd down and 1, the first down picked up by Evans. There were 2 Orange Bowls played in 1996. January 1st of 96, Florida State beat Notre Dame, and then, as we mentioned, Nebraska, December 31st of 1996, beat Virginia Tech. That was the beginning of the Bowl Alliance. Back then, they assigned one bowl game to December 31st. And the Orange Bowl was the game that got moved. Of course, Nebraska went back to the Orange Bowl the following year, beat Tennessee, and earned a share of the national championship. Taylor hitting the mouth as he throws, but he has his man. It's Boykin again inside the 10. First and goal, Virginia Tech. Matt O'Hanlon, the safety, knocked Boykin out of bounds, but good for 22 more for the Hokies.
This is what Tyrod was talking about, becoming a thrower first. How do you do that? You stand under pressure and take shots, and still able to deliver a catchable football to Boykin, a young player, a young receiver stepping up big time.
He was playing high school football in North Carolina last year at Butler High School, where Boykin had 60 catches. First 2 catches tonight are on this drive. Coaches think he has an enormous upside. Great hands. On 1st and goal, it's Evans, tripped up after a short gain. Cody Glenn penetrated, and there is a flag down on the line of scrimmage near side.
Came in from the line judge.
And it's against Virginia Tech.
Illegal formation, offense, less than 7 men on the line of scrimmage. 5 yards previous spot, still first down.
3rd penalty for Virginia Tech.
Nebraska, throughout this game, has stiffened up in the red zone. They have not allowed Virginia Tech to pound it in, holding a couple of field goals. They pounded it in once, but they've been holding some field goals, which is fighting their reds off to keep them out of the end zone.
First and goal from the 12 out of the I formation this time. Darren Evans pinball down to the 8. The red zone defense was a nightmare last year for Nebraska. I mean, it's a staggering number. A lot of the numbers for their defense last year were eye-popping. But last year, when the opponents got into the red zone against Nebraska, they scored 92% of the time, either a touchdown or a field goal. This year, that number is only 57%. Last year, they were one of the worst in the country. This year, they're 10th best.
Well, again, there's confusion. 2 timeouts used on defense by Nebraska.
There's Bo Pelini, made his name as a defensive coordinator. Some great programs, and he still calls the defenses as the head coach now at Nebraska in his first year.
Whatever your story is, your City Cash Returns card can help you write it. Because City never sleeps.
Back in Lincoln, Nebraska. Virginia Tech driving, leading 15-10 with 2:15 to go in the half. Second and goal from the 8. And nothing doing for Kenny Lewis. Ricky Tenars, a nice play for a safety spot, Aaron.
Things when the defense was on the sideline before, Bo Pelini was preaching to his guys, get physical, get after him, meaning Tyrod Taylor, and bring him down. Now, as Chris mentioned earlier, he's just really upset that guys seem to be confused on their assignments. Also, want to let you know, guys, Alari Asante is on the sideline with his helmet off. He has not been in the past couple of plays.
Probably still woozy after the hit to the head. Third down and goal from the 9. Virginia Tech's been moving the ball, but having difficulty punching it in for touchdown. They hand it off on the end around, and the Huskers were not fooled. Danny Cole didn't even get back to the line of scrimmage. Tyler Wortman among the first there for the Huskers. And there's Ricky Tenars, who's been bothered by injuries in the early part of the season.
And might be their most physical safety, and he does a good job of holding position, upending them. Then the pursuit of the Cornhuskers. Sean, regardless of how they do tonight, just watching the film and watching tonight, they're much better than they were last year, and they're playing with some passion. Again, they tightened up in the red zone.
Bo Pelini coaching them up on the sideline, talking to Matt O'Hanlon, the former walk-on, who was just put on scholarship this year as a senior. So they have the great walk-on tradition here. One of the traditions Bo Pelini is bringing back. Bo is sharing the responsibilities of running the defense with his brother Carl. Carl has the title defensive coordinator. Does an awful lot of the game planning and is an advisor during the game, but Bo Pelini is calling most of the defenses. Carl spent the last few years at Ohio U under Frank Solich. The Pelini brothers were here together as assistants under Solich in 2003.
Yeah, and they do a good job, and they work together. And you know, Carl will speak his mind, and Bo, being a young head coach, needs somebody to do that.
They force a field goal try again for Dustin Keys, 27-yarder. He continues to find the center of the fairway. And it's 18-10 Virginia Tech, approaching halftime. They've had 200 yards of offense in the half. That's a big half for Frank Beamer's offense this year. Here's Matt Weiner back in the New York studio with an update.
All right, John, let's get a check of your primetime pulse. Right now on ESPN in Athens, Georgia, black has become the new invisible. It is all Alabama, though the Bulldogs have put a field goal up on the board. Crimson Tide are threatening to retire Georgia's black jerseys for good. And on ESPN2, number 5 LSU on the way up. They complete their win over Mississippi State.
There will be a lot of movement in the polls. The winner of this game likely to move into the top 25. They're both among the teams that are others receiving votes very close to the top 25. I like Nick Saban's quote this week about the blackout. He said, I don't really think the color of their jerseys is going to have much to do with the outcome of the game. I think Nick was right.
Well, he's being prophetic there. And you know, you and I did LSU. Those champions die hard. And Lee came off the bench last and just has played well. If they get a quarterback and he continues to improve, they're going to be in there now. They can play. They got the best offensive and defensive line combination in the country, in my opinion.
Frank Beamer has to like what he has seen tonight. He'd like more touchdowns in the red zone. But at least they're moving the ball and looking like a cohesive offensive unit as this very young group gets to know each other. Brian Steinspring said yesterday, Tyrod Taylor's a new quarterback, but he's got all these new receivers and new running backs, and they get to know each other, where they're going to be. He has to build up trust in the receiving corps. Here's Niles Paul, stacked up at the 25-yard line. Jonas Housewright, a great Virginia Tech family, leading the coverage unit, an 18-yard return.
I love the thing where Sean Glennon was sitting there just tutoring the guy. And Sean's taking his demotion like a true team member, a teammate, in helping Tyrod Taylor see the game, feel the game, and being his eyes on the field.
Yeah, just about every time Tyrod comes over there, Sean Glennon, who was the starting quarterback at the beginning of the year and as a senior, is there to offer some counsel. Virginia Tech won a lot of games with that young man at quarterback. A minute 8 to go. No timeouts for Nebraska. They try to start this one with a screen. No can do. Jason Worlds was right there to drop Marlon Lucky for a loss of 3. And now it's Virginia Tech getting greedy. They have all 3 of their timeouts left. With a minute and 1 second to go in the half, they're going to use a timeout. Near the conclusion of today's game, we'll select the Chevrolet player of the game from each team. Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund.
I'm Virginia Tech. I'm using my timeouts. Why? Because I blocked the punt earlier. I might as well go after another one to see if Nebraska has it fixed.
Hokies defense, a little more conventional, more of a standard 4-3 alignment. So many years they were known for those 8 men up in the box all the time. Bud Foster, we still have the ways to get 8 men up there, but we're more of the traditional 4-3 defense now. They're coming after Gans, whose pass is behind Lucky, might have been tipped. And now Virginia Tech doesn't have to use one of those timeouts.
And the reason for that is the evolution of the spread offense. It's tough to have 8 men in the box when you have everybody spread out all over the field. And as Bud Foster knows, he's a very good defensive coordinator, one of the best in the country. You got to cover down the receivers or you get caught out of position. That's why he's gone more conventional.
Here's Bud Foster, 22nd year on the staff. Ever since Frank Beamer became the head coach, he's been on the staff. He's been the coordinator since 1995. One of the very best assistants in the country. And Gans with yet another pass batted down. Orion Martin got in the way. And Virginia Tech will indeed force the punt and get the ball back with plenty of time left. 53 seconds still remaining and 2 timeouts.
Nebraska's going to think, all right, punt block. But if I'm Virginia Tech, I might show punt block, but I want to give number 1, Victor Harris, a chance to do something with his feet. And because Nebraska may be thinking punt block, they're going to be slow and they're going to hang on their protection a little bit longer, which should buy time for number 1 if he fields it cleanly.
Moncho Harris standing at his own 38. This will be the 4th punt of the night from Dan Titchener. And it might be a delay of game.
There's no foul on the play. Please reset the game clock to 25 seconds.
I think he meant the play clock.
It actually helps Nebraska because they were able to see what type of scheme Virginia Tech was coming with. Overload right here.
Now Virginia
Second
Tech.
charge. Timeout.
Well, that could be costly. Trying to get set up for a punt block or punt return, but that's a timeout they might have wanted to have when they get the ball back here on offense.
Well, I think what happened is they want to set up a different punt block. It looked like they were coming after it there. They already exposed to Nebraska's punt protection and what they were going to do, and they believe so much in what they do in special teams. Let's throw another one at them, see what they have.
Well, we talked at the top of this telecast about these two teams, Virginia Tech 3-1, Nebraska 3-0, but both trying to learn a little bit more about themselves entering this game. Nebraska really had not played a tough opponent yet. All three of their games at home, and Virginia Tech trying to get it going offensively. What have we learned so far tonight?
Well, I think Virginia Tech's got it going offensively, and they're getting production out of their young wide receivers, and Tyrod Taylor has made some plays. I think, again, Nebraska is doing the best they can. They're improved, and they're hanging in there, but they have a little ways to go. Maybe they'll get it the second half.
Kitchener got it off under some pressure, and they hit him. Flag down. And meanwhile, Harris is having trouble with the punt and finally gets on it back at the 20-yard line. Prince Amukamara was right there.
Personal foul. Roughing the kicker. Number 22, defense. 15 yards. Previous spot. First down.
Stephon Virgil, who blocked the punt that went through the back of the end zone in the first quarter for the safety, hit Titchener after the ball was gone. They came close to getting another, but Titchener got it off.
Yeah, they tried to come up the middle with the pressure, and that time they were solid on their protection. And it's a 15-yarder, 43 seconds. The ball's going to be placed at the 40-yard line. Don't be passive if you're Nebraska. You got a chance to make something happen. Give it to your senior, Joe Gans, and see what he can do.
Frank Beamer looking up and watching the replay of the roughing once he saw it, no argument. Chris Brooks was blocking for Titchener and helped spin Virgil into him, but that's okay. So now Gans, with no timeouts, is sacked. First sack of the night for Virginia Tech. Orion Martin with help from Jason Worlds. Martin's the younger brother of Cam Martin. Teammates on this Virginia Tech defense. Ryan came there as a walk-on, and now a stand-up. Gans over the middle and almost intercepted, and there's a flag down behind the line of scrimmage. Dorian Porch, the Rover, got his hands on it. It's a holding call against Nebraska.
Holding, 67 on the offense, 10 yards previous spot, still second down.
Jacob Hickman, the center. The Huskers might just want to go to the locker room here and regroup.
Because they can't handle 3 of the 4 defensive linemen of Virginia Tech. You got Martin coming after him. You have Graves coming after him. Worlds coming. Cordero's kind of pushing the pocket, and the other 3 guys are putting their ears back and smelling blood and seeking blood. They're getting after it, and right now the front 5 of Nebraska can't block the front 4 of Virginia Tech.
14 seconds left in what's been a very long first half. Gans running out of room, throws it up for grabs again, and it's incomplete in the general direction of Todd Peterson, but Stephon Virgil was well positioned.
I think Bo's got to be relatively pleased that they're not out of this. I mean, Virginia Tech had some blown opportunities and have left points on the field, and Bo's a good halftime adjuster along with Sean Watson, and they'll go in and counter. But the problem is you have Brian Steinspring and Bud Foster going in to counter what they're going to counter.
I would think on 3rd and 22 here they would run the ball. Well, Virginia Tech, would you call the timeout and make a punt again? Won't. But it was an option. And about 4,000 Hokie fans here. They are well represented in the stands. They're making plenty of noise as the Hokies head off with the lead. Here's Aaron with Frank Beamer.
Sean, thanks. Coach, 200 yards of offense for you. Why have you guys gotten it together so early in the game?
Well, we've got a few runs in there, and then Tyrod's avoided some people and got the ball down the field. You're going to need some more here in the second half, though.
You guys were worried or concerned about how the young wide receivers and Tyrod would do in an environment like this. They're clicking. Why have they?
Yeah, I think they're stepping up. This is their 5th game, and they're starting to play a little bit better.
All right, Coach. Thank you. Sean.
All right, Aaron, thank you. We're at halftime, and our scores, Virginia Tech 18 and Nebraska 10. Coming up next, we'll join John Saunders, Craig James, and Doug Flutie in New York for the Bud Light Halftime Report. And welcome back to ESPN Saturday Night Football on ABC, presented by Southwest Airlines. Virginia Tech making its first trip ever to the state of Nebraska and leading the Cornhuskers 18-10. Let's take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. It was the usual formula for the Hokies early on: special teams and defense. Midway through the first quarter, Dan Titchener on the punt for Nebraska. Stephon Virgil blocked it out of the back of the end zone for a safety. Then Victor Harris's interception in return put Virginia Tech at the 5-yard line. That set up a touchdown that made it 9-0. But Nebraska battled back their only touchdown of the first half on a 32-yard pass, Joe Gans, to Mike McNeil. So it's 18-10. And the second half is about to begin with Nebraska to kick off. Kicked it deep into the end zone, about 5 yards deep, and it is down. And Virginia Tech will begin at the 20. Sean McDonough with Chris Spielman will be rejoined shortly by Aaron Andrews. And you said it a couple times, Chris, but Nebraska never really looked comfortable on either side of the ball, and yet they're very much in this game.
Well, it's two things to me on what they have to do to get back in this. One, they had 0 yards rushing in the second quarter, established something on the ground, and cut out the mental errors on defense. That's killed them so far.
Meanwhile, a good first half offensively for Virginia Tech. They had 198 yards of offense officially. And Tyrod Taylor brings them up to the line, 1st and 10. And has Greg Boone for another first down. You can hear some of the Hokie fans yelling "Boone" as he goes for 17 yards before Major Colbert got him on the ground. Colbert's a backup safety who may see a lot of time if Larry Asante can't answer the bell here in the second half.
Yeah, I just, to me, so far at least, we're watching Tyrod Taylor grow up before our very eyes, making good decisions with the football and throwing it on target.
There's 7 out of 11 passing now. Here's Kenny Lewis, broke a tackle and picked up 4. Here's Aaron.
Sean, Chris Spielman, of course, read Bo Pelini's mind, caught up with him after the half, and he said, Aaron, no disrespect to Virginia Tech, but we gave them the lead. We lost our mind there on defense in the first half. Drop coverages, missed assignments. All in all, he said they were bonehead plays, and he wants them cleared up here in the second half, guys.
That'll kill you every time. No matter if the offense is inexperienced or not, if you make mental errors on defense, you are in trouble.
There's Bo Pelini still getting to know his team. Tackle for a loss there. Zach Potter's had a terrific game so far. The 5th-year senior out of Omaha who grew up a big Husker fan. His dad used to deliver ice here to the stadium. Zach used to come along, run around on the field during the week and dream about playing here someday.
He hits it on the slant move right there, not held by Tyrod Taylor at all, and does a good job of taking proper angles so the young little back doesn't run away from him. Kenny Lewis took the angle to cut him off at the pass.
3rd down and 7. Great protection for Taylor. Has another man. It's Boone again. 1st down to the 44 of Nebraska. Major Colbert called upon to make another stop. 16 more for Taylor and the Hokies.
Sean, we talked about impact players. Well, here you have a 280-pound tight end running on a deep dig. Remember that pass was open in the first half? Tyrod dropped his eyes, didn't see him. That time he kept his eyes downfield, allowed Taylor to clear the linebacker, or allowed Boone to clear the linebackers and deliver the strike.
Boone came to Virginia Tech as a quarterback at 280 pounds. Taylor under pressure. Uses his speed to get away. Has a first down and much more inside the 20. And chopped out at the 15-yard line by Matt O'Hanlon. 29 yards on the run. Hokie fans delighted. They've been everywhere here in town for the last couple of days.
Well, if you get knocked down, you create running lanes for Tyrod Taylor. Kenny Lewis throws the block, and its superior athleticism does a good job avoiding the hit. The only criticism I would have, if I'm a young fellow watching at home, put that ball away. Secure the football, number one thing.
Out of the I formation now, and Lewis dragged down for a loss by Armando Murillo with help from Pierre Allen. Tyrod Taylor's from Hampton, Virginia. And that's a part of the state of Virginia now that is producing a lot of quarterbacks. Ronald Curry, Ryan Randall, the Vicks, Michael and Marcus. A lot of the college coaches tell you the best quarterback who came out of that area was Allen Iverson, who elected to play football instead.
Basketball.
Basketball instead, pardon me. Lewis bounced off the pile, but he might have fared better had he stayed down. He got bounced back for a couple more yards of losses by Eric Haig, who is the nickel back. Bo Pelini says we put a lot on our nickel, and Haig does a lot dealing with all those responsibilities.
I think a positive that the Pelinis can take from their defense. Yes, they've given up some big plays. And yes, they've had mental errors. But when the yards count, I'm talking about the red zone in, they've done a pretty darn good job of fighting to keep them out of the end zone.
Third down and 16. Virginia Tech at the Nebraska 21, leading 18-10. Nearly 4 minutes into the second half. Taylor. That never looked promising for Virginia Tech. Matt O'Hanlon up from the safety spot to make the play. And help from Haig again as well. And that'll force a field goal try. He's made a career-high 3 field goals in the first half. He'll try to kick his 4th of the night. 36 yards. The punter, Brent Bowden, is the holder. And it is good. 21-10 Virginia Tech. Back in Lincoln, Bo Pelini working hard. Dual role as head coach and running the defense, even though he doesn't have the defensive coordinator title. He said, I have faith in our staff. We can do the X's and O's. Yep. The big part is developing the trust and relationships with the players. What we observed this week in practice and in the meetings would make you think that that process is well underway as well. Niles Paul returns the kickoff to the 24-yard line. Let's send you back again to Matt Weiner in New York and get another update.
All right, Sean, it's a Verizon Wireless update on Alabama and Georgia. Remember, the Crimson Tide led at 31-0 at halftime. Bulldogs have gotten a lift. A field goal, a no-shot Moreno touchdown run of this Prince Miller 92-yard punt return. Bama's responded with a field goal drive of their own to make it a 3-possession game again. But Georgia has some life, down 17 with just under 10 minutes to go between the hedges on ESPN.
All right, Matt, thank you. Tonight here on ABC, it's Virginia Tech and Nebraska. And Nebraska with the ball for the first time here in the second half. And Victor Harris takes down Marlon Lucky. A tough run by Lucky. He kept those legs churning and made it to the 26 for a pickup of 3.
Hey, Sean, just to go back to Bo for a second. I was a senior and Bo was a freshman at Ohio State and he played. And I remember him because of how smart he was and how quick he picked things up defensively. So as his coaching career was on the rise, it was just a matter of time before he got involved and became the leader like he is right now at Nebraska. He's an excellent young mind.
And be happy with his offense right now. Lucky spun down by Jason Worlds. And Bo Pelini is an interesting young man, as Chris said, played at Ohio State. Then did a graduate assistantship at Iowa for 1 year. Thought he was going to get out of coaching. Went to Ohio U to finish his graduate work, but did not coach. Was back home in Youngstown. Thought he was going to take a job in business. Then got a call from the San Francisco 49ers. Do you want to come work for us in inside scouting? So I said, why not? So he went out to San Francisco and worked in an office looking at film from about 8 to 5 every day. Gaines on 3rd down and 11 is sacked. Second sack of the night for Virginia Tech. It's Orion Martin. Bo told us yesterday, Chris, he used to, when he was done with his 8 to 5 job, basically, he just walked down to the coaches area. The coaches didn't mind that he sat in and watched film. Ray Rhodes was the defensive coordinator there with George Seifert and those great 49er coaching staffs. And he would chime in every now and then. Finally, they said, this guy knows a lot about coaching, and they had an opening on the staff. They put him on the staff.
Yeah, and again, he's very bright, and obviously he's competitive, and they hired him as an assistant secondary coach, which is where he made his mark.
Played 9 years in the NFL, went to New England with Pete Carroll, went to Green Bay under Mike Sherman, then came to college in 2003 here in Nebraska. Macho Harris, after a couple of spins, with another very nice punt return all the way to the 33-yard line. 22-yard run back of a 40-yard punt by Dan Titchener.
This is what happens, Sean, when you're a threat of blocking punts. That holds the punt coverage from sprinting downfield. Then you have the danger of Victor Harris right here, who will make you miss. And again, the one thing he has is tremendous shake, which you see, but also this little burst. He has an extra gear that's tough to catch up to.
After Harris thought about going to the NFL after his junior year, then reconsidered, elected to stay here at Virginia Tech, and he is their most important player. On first down, Darren Evans to the 28-yard line. If you joined us late, the first scoring of the game was on a blocked punt. Nebraska's punt blocked by Stephon Virgil midway through the first half, the second blocked punt of his career, and the 121st block under Frank Beamer in 259 games as coach, the 60th punt that they've blocked. Two tight ends on the field now for the Hokies. On 2nd and 5, big holes, and a first down for Darren Evans inside the 20 to the 19. Let's take a look at the Southwest Airlines playbook and take you back to that action early in the first quarter when the scoring began on the block punt by Stephon Virgil.
Sean, as you documented, Virginia Tech's good on punt blocking. They don't need any help. You'll see right here, Asante does not put a hand on anybody, and Stephon Virgil's running free to the football. You don't need to help them. They're already good.
Here's Evans bouncing outside with running room, turns the corner, lunges for the end zone. Touchdown! Darren Evans with his second touchdown of the night, and the Hokies are starting to pull away. It's 27-10 with the extra point to come.
Well, again, I think it's a mental error because every defense, no matter what it is, you always have somebody contained, always somebody to turn the ball in. That time the Cornhuskers didn't turn it in, and Darren Evans made him pay with his speed.
Weston Keys kicks the extra point. This is a season-high point total now for the Hokies with 28 on the board. And still a long way to go. 6:54 in the third here in Lincoln. Darren Evans, the touchdown run for Virginia Tech, and the Hokies have their largest lead of the night, up by 18. As Justin Meyer kicked off. Fonzo Dennard, the run back. He was back deep, but he didn't bring it back. It's Niles Paul who brought it back for 23 yards. Wednesday, October 1st. For the richest family in America, life is one delicious game. Lucy Liu joins the cast of ABC's Dirty Sexy Money. The season premiere Wednesday, October 1st at 10/9 Central on ABC.
Problem for Nebraska right now is all the Virginia Tech pass rushers got their ears pinned back, ready to come.
Joe Gans comes out throwing with a quick connection to Mike McNeil, the tight end. Tackled by Brett Warren, the senior from Clifton, Virginia. Gans, as we mentioned earlier, from the south side of Chicago, not highly recruited out of Amos Alonzo Stagg High School. And we were stunned when he told us yesterday that really isn't a noted high school football power. I mean, it's named after one of the all-time great football men. And yet he said when he was in high school, they hadn't been to the state playoffs since the early 90s.
I went to Longfellow Junior High. We couldn't write very well.
Peterson the catch. And it's a first down, it appears. His first catch of the night. He was tackled again by Warren. Joe Gans is a huge Chicago sports fan. The Cubs, which is unusual for somebody from the South Side, and the Bears. And he really believes this is the year the Cubs are going to win it all. He got home to Chicago for a couple of weeks this summer and went to 3 Cubs games. His brother lives right over in Lincoln Park by Wrigleyville. Joe said the team he's most concerned about in the National League playoffs if they were to make it with the Philadelphia Phillies. So the Cubs don't play well against the Phillies generally. Dumped off short. Drew Young, a backup tight end. And they're starting to execute crisply here. That's good for another first down to the 46-yard line with 5.5 to go in the third.
But what they're doing to neutralize the pass rush is doing a little bit of play action, what's holding the pass rush a little bit. And also he's making quick decisions and the ball's leaving his hands on time, which slows down the pass rush because it can't get there from the Hokies.
Gans was not highly recruited as a football player. He thought he was going to go to UIC in Chicago and play baseball. Marlon Lucky carries. Joe told us yesterday he had interest from a few MAC schools, but not serious interest from Eastern Michigan, Central Michigan. Northwestern was in it for a while, and then they signed C.J. Bechet. And finally he wound up here at Nebraska. One of the assistants on the previous staff saw him play and liked him. That's a pretty good option to have when you don't have any other options coming into this program.
You don't hear that story very often, but a credit to him for sticking in there, waiting his turn. And I love stories when kids get their turn, they make the most of their opportunity, just like Joe did.
At the end of last season, he had the 2 top passing games in Nebraska history. Lucky picking his way through the defense, down about 2.5 short of the first down. Ernell Sturdivant made the tackle.
One thing this is accomplishing, at least it's giving the Cornhusker defense a chance to rest a little bit. But there's more tempo and there's more sense of urgency for Sean Watson in this Cornhusker offense.
Third down's a bit of an issue. They're 1 out of 8. 4 minutes to go now, third quarter. Nebraska moving down by 18. And they do not convert on that third down. Lucky came up about a yard short. And I would think on this side of the field, down by 18 with the clock a-ticking, that Bo Pelini would go for it.
Yeah, I think you have to. And good recognition by the Tech defense. That time they brought Lyden Murtha over to line up at tight end. And when Virginia Tech saw that, they started to crash that end, meaning all their defensive linemen jumped down inside and they were able to make a big pile. Stop Lucky.
There's Sean Watson, the offensive coordinator, on the right of your picture. And only 2 holdovers from the Bill Callahan staff. Castile, did he get it? Big Quentin Castile put in there because he's at least 6'1", about 235 pounds, and it looks like they're going to mark it right on that yellow line, which should be a first down. But it's going to be close.
They tried to stretch that long frame out to get to the first down, but Virginia Tech does a great job of penetration, making a pile and letting their linebackers clean up over the top of that pile.
And they just did get it. So often these games are chess matches. The offensive coordinator of one team against the defensive coordinator of the other. And in this matchup, there's a long history with Sean Watson and Bud Foster. They both grew up in the southern part of Illinois. Sean Watson played at Southern Illinois and later became the head coach in the mid-90s. On first down, it's Castile again. And when Watson became the head football coach at his alma mater in the mid-90s, he wanted to run the defense that Virginia Tech had been running so successfully. So he brought Bud Foster out to Southern Illinois to put on basically a clinic in the Hokie defense for Sean's coaching staff. Bud Foster grew up in Nokomis, Illinois, in Southern Illinois, so these two have had a long friendship and history.
Yeah, and if I were building a defense, I would talk to him, Bud Foster. And to me, if there's ever a guy that deserves a shot at a head coaching job, it's that man right there, with the consistency that his defense has played with over the years.
Nearing 2 minutes to go in the third quarter. Gans, after a deep drop, takes off and rushes for a yard to the 40. But he's still 6.5 short of the first down, with third down upcoming. Demetrius Taylor ran him down. Here's Aaron.
Guys, just to add about Bud Foster, he's dealing with a young set of defensive players as well. 7 starters he lost last year, and some of his guys came in pretty confident this year, and he told them, "Oh yeah, you're ready to go? You think you could line up against Miami right now? Draw me up a blitz." And they'd go, "Oh, okay, never mind." So Bud Foster said that's how he grounds some of his young guys.
Well, humility on the chalkboard is a practice that coaches use often.
Well, it almost looked like they bluffed Gans into a timeout there. They were dancing around, and it certainly confused Joe Gans. Nebraska calls a timeout. 1:16 to go. Third quarter here in beautiful Lincoln.
On ABC.
The great news tonight at Memorial Stadium and this record crowd in downtown Lincoln are being provided by the Outback Steakhouse airship, the Bloomin' Onion 1. We thank Captain Paul Heino. Third down and 6. Longest drive of the night in terms of number of plays for Nebraska. This is the 10th of the possession. They've had it for more than 5.5 minutes. Gans forced to run, has some running room, has a first down, out of bounds at the 32-yard line, chased down by Cam Martin.
Ryan Martin, Cam's brother, clapping his hands because he lost contain. Sometimes you get stingy as a pass rusher and you jump inside, losing contain. Joe Gans will make you pay, and Bud Foster saying the exact same thing. Please keep contain and keep him in the pocket.
Is that what he was saying?
Exactly. I know what a guy gets mad at, and I know that's one thing defensive coordinators get mad at when you lose contain. But he said a little bit more tougher than I did.
A little more colorful. Gans down the seam and is caught near the 12-yard line. Menelik Holt, the junior from San Diego, with his first catch of the night. Good for 20 yards.
The guy they want to get going is Holt.
Holt's a big body, 6'4", 220. The coaches say he's got a lot of talent. They'd like to see him be a factor more consistently. Final seconds of the third quarter. Nebraska driving and taking a lot of time off the clock while doing it. They're down by 18. Back to the run and room for Halou. Nice cut. End zone. Touchdown, Nebraska.
Coach Bud might get mad at that one because that's a mental error. Nebraska went an overload to the right side. Virginia Tech did not adjust, exploited them on the outside, and Halou says hello to the end zone.
And the extra point up and good by Alex Henry. Nebraska needed it. They got it. Longest drive of the season for a touchdown. 12 plays, 75 yards. It took 6:40 off the clock.
Right there was the overload. You see people getting downfield. They create a short corner by caving in the Virginia Tech defense. They don't have enough defenders to the outside. And when you're running that free and open space, there's the feet and vision that I talked that Halou had and the determination to get into the end zone.
Second rushing touchdown of the season for Halou, sophomore from Danville, California. And Nebraska right back in the game in the final seconds of the third. Now down 28-17. Kunalik will kick off for Nebraska. Last year, over 42% of his kickoffs went for touchbacks. That was the highest percentage in the country. He's a great weapon to have. We'll try to boom one into the end zone again. Originally from Bosnia.
What we want to see here is a young Virginia Tech offense take the field and see how they respond to the counterpunch thrown by the Pelinis.
Squib kick, will it stay in bounds? Yes, it got a great bounce for Nebraska. Kenny Lewis brings it back to the 23. They're diving on the pile as if the ball is out. There is a battle for it. The officials are saying he was down. Mason Wald down on the coverage for Nebraska. Trying to pull it away at the bottom of the pile.
Let's see. Oh, he was down. They're fighting for it at that pile. Everything goes. As you see Paul jumping over doing a gainer.
And that's the end of the third quarter. Virginia Tech leads Nebraska 28-17. ESPN Saturday Night Football on ABC will return after this message and a word from our ABC station.
A man is killed in a collision with a Metro bus. Metro's response at 11.
Back into Lincoln and ready for the fourth quarter. Tailgate week presented by Kingsford continues. Virginia Tech at Nebraska. Hokies ball after the Husker touchdown. The lead down to 11. And nothing doing for Kenny Lewis on first down as he was popped by Cody Glenn.
So I've been impressed with Cody Glenn. Again, this is a guy that's been playing linebacker about 4 months. And he has instincts. That's something you cannot teach. The X's and O's he'll get with the more reps, but he's tough, he has instincts, and he's a good, sound tackler.
From the small town of Rusk, Texas, southeast of Dallas. Tyrod Taylor rolls out, incomplete, through the hands of Dyrell Roberts. Glenn told us yesterday when we visited with him that he didn't go to a Texas school because they wanted him to play linebacker. He wanted to be a running back. So that's how he wound up at Nebraska, the backup running back for 3 years. And finally, when he realized if he wanted to play more, it had to be his linebacker. He's back at the position he didn't want to play when he came out of high school.
This is where you got to make sure, Sean, and Cody might be a spy on Tyrod Taylor. If he gets in trouble, he's going to take off and run and try to get it with his feet.
Big play for this young offense. Taylor scrambling all over, running out of time and down to the line of scrimmage. Pulled down by Ty Steinkuhler.
So as I said, if there's nothing wide open, he's going to go back to his comfort, which is his feet. Steinkuhler does a good job of fighting out the block. He didn't get any penetration, but he kept his eyes on Tyrod Taylor, who is the check down receiver with his feet.
Now Brent Bowden the punt. And it is a shank. Sideways, don't know if anybody got a piece of it. It didn't look like it from here. But Bowden had to go off the side of his foot and out of bounds. And they still haven't spotted it, but it's going to be near the 40-yard line. This crowd set the ball and chains over there, but the Nebraska offense is huddling. It looks like the ball will be on the 45. And a 21-yard punt. So great field position for the Big Red with the crowd roaring in support of them now.
Might go up top. A lot of times after a big play like that, poor punt, teams like to go deep. There's no safety help.
On first down, Gans handed it off. Hello. Stayed on his feet, broke out of the original tackle, but could not turn it into an advance. Jason Worlds and Dorian Porch combined on the stop.
This may be a young Hokie defense, but they play like an old Hokie defense. What I mean is they might have a few mental errors here and there, but do they fly to the football?
Yes.
They fly around. I love that.
Well, they've held Nebraska to 193 yards of offense tonight. The Huskers came in averaging 450 per game, 20th in the country. Nebraska was averaging 40 points per game through the first three. They have 17 tonight. Scored at least 35 points in their last 6 games. They have half of that right now. With less than a quarter to go. Flag down. Gans runs away. Thrown what you would expect a holding call. Pernell Sturdivant, the linebacker, chased him out. Actually a gain of 1.
Holding, 76 offense, 10 yards, previous spot, still second down.
Lyden Murtha, the senior, guilty of the infraction.
Yeah, I thought they were play late. They tried to go deep that play, and they tried to set it up with the play action. They come back with the same look. But the problem Nebraska's having is their receivers cannot create any separation against the Virginia Tech corners.
They have a group of possession type receivers, but really very few speedy athletes at wide receiver. They throw in the direction of Peterson. Nice catch. And he's out of bounds at the 41. Senior from Grand Island, Nebraska, with a 14-yard pickup.
Nice catch and a nice throw, and well executed. Why? Because the ball's in the air right now. Peterson does a good job of snapping his head around and gets those hips on a swivel and adjusts well in midair to bring it down. But that ball was on its way before Peterson was well out of his cut.
Peterson, a very good student. Coach Watson calls him the plumber, does everything, does all the dirty work. He's been writing a weekly column for the Sporting News. Big third down here, 3rd and 6 from the Virginia Tech 41. A blitz. Gans hit as he throws, and it's incomplete. In the direction of Menelik Holt.
That's a blown assignment up front. Usually if a blitz comes and it comes free, the free man will come from the outside, because you do not want to have that short distance, which is a straight line up the middle to the quarterback.
For a moment it looked like Bo Pelini might be going for it here. Some of the fans apparently want him to, but a long way to go. Over 11 and a half minutes left. 2 timeouts for Nebraska, so here's the punter, Titchener. Nacho Harris has had a couple of punt returns of better than 20 yards tonight. They need to snap it. And they do with a second on the clock. Good kick. Angled toward the sideline. Bad bounce. It's still out at the 14.
Three of them to Manuel Johnson. Text your vote to 51234 and your AT&T wireless phone.
Here in Lincoln, 1st and 10, Virginia Tech. Hokies with the ball and an 11-point lead, 11:22 to go. On 1st down from the 14. Donegan Sue came through the line and dropped Darren Evans for a loss of about a yard.
But the luxury that Nebraska doesn't have is a lot of depth at the defensive line, and hats off to those front 4 that have played most of the game, and especially Sue. Solid against the run and a good pass rusher from that defensive tackle position.
They haven't had good field position in this half, but have managed to make something of it. Taylor has a lot of running room to the far side of the field. He'll go for a while across the 30 and slides down at the 33. Looked like he was trying to stay in bounds or duck under a hit or both. Armando Murillo came over, and now Taylor is still down on the sideline. As Aaron Andrews reported at the top of the telecast, he's been playing with a sore ankle. Injured last week against North Carolina, forced him to leave that game. He told us on the phone a couple of days ago he had all the reps in practice this week and feels like he's fine.
Right there, Major Colbert coming from the outside. Again, jumps inside. And Tyrod Taylor's comfort level is shooting to the outside and bent back. Ooh, that is nasty looking.
Did it to himself. And his foot caught in the ground as he tried to go down. They did run the clock, and it's approaching 10 minutes left as Lewis goes ahead. Well, this does qualify as a major outburst. There's Evans, who apparently has a cramp on the sideline. This does qualify as a big offensive performance for the Hokies. 28 points on the board is their season high. And you go back to the bowl game against Kansas in the Orange Bowl last year, they've been held below 25 points in 5 straight games. The longest such streak since the mid-90s. The Hokie fans are happy to see 28 on the board early in the fourth quarter. And hoping for a little more here. Lewis, ankle tackled at the 40-yard line.
I think, Sean, one of the reasons why you're starting to see some production from this Virginia Tech offense is what Frank Beamer told Aaron, that this is the fifth game, that these guys have been together, and they're starting to come together as a unit.
Frank said we're young and experienced but talented. It's just a matter of time, and that time might have arrived tonight. Lewis banged down almost immediately by Cody Glenn. I think a concern for the Nebraska folks has to be their pass defense. They played some pass-happy teams to start the year, San Jose State and New Mexico State in particular. But Nebraska entering tonight was one of the worst pass defense teams in the country, 102nd, giving up 270 yards per game through the air. Here comes Virginia Tech, averaging only 99 yards per game passing. They have 159 tonight.
Yeah, and probably 100 of those have been on mental errors. Not to take anything away from Tyrod Taylor and the boys, but some mental errors have hurt Nebraska.
Fourth punt for Bowden, a good one. High nose-up spiral. Nate Swift back at the 10. Showing his shiftiness. Here he goes! Down the sideline, Nate Swift. All the way, no flags. Touchdown, Nebraska! Gives the Hokies a taste of their own medicine. Officially an 88-yard punt return of a 47-yard punt. The special teams have been a factor all night long on both sides. Now it looks like Bo Pelini might go for 2 here to try to get within a field goal with 7:52 remaining.
Sean, one of the things about returning punts is go to the next level. Do not block behind the football. And when we get to the replay, you're going to see Nebraska players go to the next level, clear out any safety valve that Virginia Tech had. And Nate Swift was swift down the sidelines to get that ball in the end zone. I like the call by Bo going here for 2 to try to make it a 1-possession ball game. Nothing to lose, down by 5.
For the ball near the left hash mark. Back at the end zone, incomplete. Swift again trying to make a one-handed catch. 4th longest punt return in Nebraska history. Swift, 88 yards.
You see the Nebraska players blocking downfield, going to the next level. Don't block behind the ball. Get out of the way, punter.
Wireless.
From Memorial Stadium, the state capitol building here in downtown Lincoln. This old barn is rocking after Nate Swift with the first punt return for a touchdown for Nebraska since 2002. And it brought the Huskers within 5. Just under 8 minutes to go as Adi Kunalik kicks off. He's fired up along with the crowd to the back of the end zone. Time now for the Pacific Life game summary. Virginia Tech with 320 yards of offense, well above their season average of 272. And they've seen what was an 18-point lead rather shrink to 5.
Just remember some of the opportunity that Virginia Tech had to score touchdowns, and they settled for field goals that could come back to haunt them.
And the poise of this young offense, led by sophomore quarterback Tyrod Taylor, will be seriously put to the test here. Taylor with a fake, sets and throws a deep ball. One-on-one coverage out there, and it's incomplete. He was looking for Dyrell Roberts, who was well covered by Armando Murillo.
That was forced a little bit by Tyrod. He wanted to make something happen, and he had Boone that slipped into the flat, and nobody was on him. If he catches the ball, he's going to get at least 15 yards. That's part of your progression. Go deep to short. Deep wasn't there, throw it short.
He's thrown for a season-high 159. Largest crowd in stadium history. Third largest to see a Nebraska game anywhere. 85,831 watching Taylor take off. Taylor trying to turn the corner. First down and more, and out of bounds at the 38-yard line.
Sean, a great block by Darren Evans right there, your freshman running back, cutting the linebacker's legs. Watch the freshman lead up. Cuts Dillard's legs, and Tyrod does a good job of reading. Then he trusts his speed to get to the corner and get out of bounds so he doesn't have to take any punishment. Cody Glenn hustling.
75 yards rushing now on 11 carries for Taylor. Virginia Tech has had the edge in play, and they hang on to this lead in a tough environment on the road with a young team trying to win its 4th straight. Evans, the ball carrier, and Steinkühler made the tackle at the 41. And the clock will run well under 7 minutes by the time they snap it again for Coach Beamer.
Now, this is a mental toughness test, and I keep going back to it because it's such a rarity. You do not see Nebraska substituting that front 4. And those guys are playing with their hearts out there, and they're doing battle all night with that tough offensive line of the Hokies.
Design run for Taylor. Nice cut. Lowered his shoulder, lost his helmet, and got within 2 yards of the first down. Tackled by Pierre Allen and Matt O'Hanlon.
Is it me, Sean, or in college football this year, guys losing their helmets more than
so many helmets come off as we've seen this year.
And I think really, for the safety of the kids, they have to do a study of why this is happening. And it's got to be stopped because somebody's going to get seriously hurt. There's my PSA for the night, but that's something that I've been concerned with. Back to football.
Based on where they spotted it, they need 3 now for a first down. On 3rd and 3. 6 minutes to go. Taylor has a man, first down to the 43-yard line. Dyrell Roberts with a pickup of 12, Aaron.
Sean, the one thing that these Virginia Tech coaches are so impressed with Tyrod Taylor, he is so composed. He doesn't get emotionally involved. His facial expression doesn't change the entire game. You know, the first time he stepped on the field last year at LSU when Virginia Tech was down 21 points, Bo Pelini knows a little bit about that game. His first series, he didn't do well. His second series, he threw for a touchdown. That really impressed the Hokies coaching staff.
He took a lot of time off the play clock while fixing his helmet here. They're down to 3 seconds to snap it, and he just did get it off. Showing the poise and wherewithal of a veteran there, running that play clock all the way down to 1 with the lead. Sue and Potter combined to take down Evans for just about no gain.
You know, regardless of how this game turns out, I think that Coach Beamer and Coach Steinspring got to be pleased with how their not only young quarterback has grown up tonight, but also the young receiving corps has done a nice job all around. And one of the reasons why is they've been able to run the football efficiently.
And this has been an impressive drive. Momentum against them. Hostile environment. They started at their own 20. They've had it for more than 3 minutes, and they're inside the Nebraska 40 now, as Evans is down at the 36 in the arms of Tyler Wertman, the walk-on, who just kept working his way up the depth chart now as a starter as a senior. 3.9 student in mechanical engineering, wants to go to grad school and study aerospace engineering.
Yeah, Tyler has gotten 1B. And he was so upset about it, he went around and checked what everybody else's grades were and found out nobody got an A, but it was no consolation to him, though. He still wanted that A.
Timeout called by Virginia Tech. 4:13 to go.
Over Home Edition, ABC tomorrow.
4:13 to go here at Memorial Stadium in Lincoln, Nebraska. Virginia Tech on the road leads by 5. They have 3rd down and 4 at the Cornhusker 37-yard line. Out of the Virginia Tech timeout. Taylor running to the short side of the field. Got perhaps a yard, and that's it. And now a flag thrown. Thrown late and thrown out of bounds. You wonder if somebody hit Taylor when he was across the boundary.
After the player was out of bounds, personal foul, unnecessary roughness, number 93, defense, 15 yards, first down.
Dominican Sue with a very costly penalty, and Bo Pelini is livid. But he's down, and he's about 3 yards out of bounds.
Yeah, and I think Bo's mad because he's making the argument. I heard him scream that he was in the air, and obviously it's tough to stop as you're in midair. But that's emotion, and you know you have to make that call. It's a tough one to make. But he did hit him out of bounds.
That's a huge call. It was going to be 4th down. Bo Pelini's livid. These are ACC officials on the field. Virginia Tech's conference. Big 12 replay people. And it's been a very well officiated game. I think that was the right call. And now the officials have stopped the play.
Dead ball, unsportsmanlike on Nebraska. 50, half the distance to the goal. First down.
Well, you know, it's easy to say he's a first-year head coach because this could happen to any coach, but you can't do that. You made your say. You stated your case vehemently. They listened to you for a long time. You're the head coach. You can't get that penalty right now.
You're exactly right, and I understand with this veteran officiating crew that I probably told them to cool it before they had the flagging.
Now it's 1st and 10. They could get another first down just shy of the goal line. And the clock really working against Nebraska now. 3.5 minutes to go. On the ground with Evans. Fights his way to the 5-yard line. 2 timeouts left for the Cornhuskers. Armando Murillo made the tackle. Carl Pelini alongside his brother Bo. They are the youngest 2 children in a family of 8. They had a sibling rivalry growing up. Carl said, you know, a lot of times assistant coaches are afraid to speak up to the head coach. The head coach is on a pedestal. My brother doesn't have to worry about that with me. I've been telling him my entire life.
It's that natural big brother respect, and it's a good move to bring somebody like that in who will let Bo know, not tell him what he needs to hear, but tell him what he thinks.
Taylor again alertly bringing the play clock all the way down. Evans, the stiff arm, trying to get to that pylon. And they're going to mark him out just short, but he might have the first down. Although where they spot it just shy of that yellow line. Good effort by Murillo to keep Evans out of the end zone.
Evans is a nice little young back right there. Good stiff arm, fighting and grappling to get to the end zone. It looked like his foot went out on the 2-yard line as opposed to where they spotted the ball.
And it's short of the first down.
Now you can challenge a spot of the football.
What a drive for this young Virginia Tech offense. Frank Beamer has to be so pleased. A rare special teams problem for Virginia Tech got Nebraska back in the game when the Huskers returned a punt for a score. Virginia Tech has really had the decided edge in play through most of the night. Trying to punch it in, for all intents and purposes, put it away. Taylor, touchdown, Virginia Tech.
And helped out by 30 yards of penalties. One on a player, one on a coach.
And all an 11-play drive. They went the 80 yards and took 5:24 off the clock. Dustin Keys to add the extra point. 2:28 to go. Virginia Tech leads 35-23. There's a flag down on the extra point.
After the play, personal foul, 93 on the defense, 15 yards been assessed on the kickoff.
Well, that's Sue, who was guilty of that late hit out of bounds. And he's just been called for another personal foul. Huskers need to get their poise back here.
That's early days. The Express. Rated PG. Starts October 10th.
The great aerial shots tonight, courtesy of our friends at Outback Steakhouse, proud sponsor of the Outback Bowl, the Bloomin' One airship. Favorite every week on ABC, ESPN college football broadcasts. Dominican Sue not a favorite of his coaching staff right now. 2 costly personal foul penalties. The latest will give the Hokies the opportunity to kick off from the 45-yard line.
Past 3 minutes, 45 yards in penalties. Well, at 1.5 the distance, but
the 2 personal fouls and the unsportsmanlike conduct penalty against the sideline, perhaps against Coach Pelini. And let's check in with Matt Weiner.
All right, Sean, this Sports Center right now is powered by Vizio. The Phillies beat the Nationals 4-3 today to win the 2nd straight National League East title for them. The Mets won and Brewers lost, so they're tied for the National League wildcard race. And Alabama scored on the team's first 5 possessions to blow away Georgia. 3 of the top 4 teams in the country lost this week, Sean.
It has been a wild weekend. Here, Virginia Tech looking for its 4th straight win. Joe Gans the completion, and then Macho Harris just lit up Nate Swift.
one thing Virginia Tech has is, I think, a tradition of corners, which allows Bud Foster to play those safeties tight because he trusts his corners and man-to-man, and no difference here with Harris and Virgil. Both of them excellent cover guys.
Nebraska might want to get back up to the line a bit more quickly than they did on this play. 2nd and 1. And there's Swift again in the open field. Yeah, the 88-yard punt return for a touchdown. Now he has Nebraska very quickly to the 25 of Virginia Tech. 46 yards on the completion to Swift.
Right here again. Good job of Joe Gans. He fakes the corner route, comes on a deep dig, showing courage, extending to get that football, knowing he's going to take a hit. And Cody Grimm finally runs him down with a safety over the top. Could have smashed him, but he tried to bump him as opposed to making a sure tackle.
Shotgun for Gans with 3 receivers. A blitz. Gans now with running room.
And trying to get to the sideline. Will they give it to him? Yes. Out of bounds. Knocked out by Harris at the 18-yard line. Stay tuned after the game for your late local news over most of these ABC stations and over on ESPN Sports Center for post-game analysis as well as scores and highlights. SEC and Big Ten showdowns today, the impact of the upsets we've seen today, and the update on the baseball playoff scenarios. Gans end zone caught. That was quick. Touchdown, Todd Peterson. They're still alive with 1:32 to go.
Excellent job of recognition. Peterson's going to take him inside to the post and hit the corner. Gans recognizes, waits for his receiver to come open, keeps his eyes downfield, and delivers his team to the end zone, keeping him in it.
17-yard touchdown. They needed just 4 plays to go 80 yards. Took only 56 seconds off the clock. The extra point by Henry gets both Pelini's Cornhuskers back within 5, 1:32 remaining. Well, Nate Swift has made the big plays lately. He's one guy who'll be tuned into Sports Center to see those baseball scores. When we met with him yesterday, he's a young man from Hutchinson, Minnesota, about an hour west of the Twin Cities. He came in to the meeting wearing a Joe Mauer Minnesota Twins baseball jersey. He has been following the Twins and Vikings very closely his whole life. Young man Swift, who when he was in the 5th grade, jumping out of his bunk bed one morning, landed on the floor and couldn't get up. He had no energy. He was paralyzed. It wasn't from the jump. It turns out after a lot of medical testing, including a move to Children's Hospital in the Twin Cities, he had a very rare syndrome, Guillain-Barré syndrome, which causes paralysis. They don't really know what causes Guillain-Barré, but he was hospitalized for about 3 weeks, and sometimes it never fully goes away.
No, and good for him. I think he's a special football player. He reminds me of a Joe Jaravicius. I think he has a future in the NFL. He can return punts. He's on the hands team right here. Maybe a possible onside kick, but a tough kid and steady. That's how Coach Watson, the offensive coordinator, described him as just a steady player in good hands and good route runner.
And good enough speed to play in the NFL. I mean, he's a 4.5-ish.
Just saw it on that punt return.
Punt return. We saw that long touchdown, that long pass reception to set up the touchdown. Now here's Henry trying the onside kick. Up in the air it goes, and the Hokies have it. Well played by Cam Chancellor. And Greg Boone there as well.
Again, this is a nice job, and Virginia Tech does a good job of blocking any potential receivers. And it's a well-kicked ball. It's just a little bit too deep. You ideally want to have that 11 yards across the line of scrimmage to give your cover guys an opportunity to catch the ball. Just a little deep.
Now all they want to do is hang on to it. Virginia Tech started the day one of 8 teams in the country that have not lost a fumble this year. And that is job one right now. Just hang on to the football. Evans took a wallop from Cody Glenn and hung on. So far, Nebraska has not used one of its 2 remaining timeouts. And apparently they're not going to here.
I think they'll wait till 3rd down to call the timeout.
And the play clock's at 5, and it shouldn't be. The referee indicated to reset the play clock, but it's at 40 and it's not running. And the game clock is running. Now you see they have the play clock functional. Both Pelini's upset, but wouldn't you have used the timeout after that first play?
Yeah, well, if the game clock isn't running, that's where Bo's going to have a discussion. But he wanted to save it for the 3rd and 4th down, and he's going out there again working the officials. You saw The head linesman on that side gave him another warning. He didn't want to give him another penalty, get him back.
Bo Pelini still upset with the officials. I think the referee, Jeff Langan, felt that the play clock did not reset. And if it had been functioning properly, it wouldn't have been at 8 as quickly as it was.
Correct.
That's why he reset it. As they discuss with one timeout left, the strategy. We'll give you tonight's Chevrolet players of the game. Tyrod Taylor really took a hold of this offense tonight. 254 yards of total offense for Tyrod. The team with 381. And Nate Swift, who kept Nebraska in the game with the punt return for the score and then the long reception on the last drive that set up their touchdown. In recognition of their efforts, Chevrolet will make a $1,000 contribution to each university's general scholarship fund.
I think Tyrod needed a game like this. And his composure, as reported, has been outstanding in a hostile environment.
Well, obviously a must-stop situation here for Nebraska. Virginia Tech leading by 5. 3rd down and 5. Evans is stopped, and they'll have to use that last timeout, which they do with 38 seconds left. Good swarming team defense led by Matt O'Hanlon up from the safety position.
It helps when you're a safety. You don't got to run the ball. You disregard any type of threat. He's hitting that line of scrimmage, running downhill from 7 yards deep, and does a good job of making the open field tackle. O'Hanlon will come into your picture untouched right here because no threat of running deep. Evans, just get down. In that situation, being a young running back, you don't want to force a second hit coming in there to jar the ball loose.
O'Hanlon, walk-on, put on scholarship at the start of this year as a senior. He had not played a single snap on defense in his career until this year.
Well, that's a testament to him on how hard he works, and Tenars has been hurt a little bit, and Hanlon's taking advantage of that.
Well, what do you do now if you're Virginia Tech? I mean, you have to be careful. We've seen a lot of special teams plays in this game, including a block punt by Virginia Tech. We've seen a Nebraska punt return for a touchdown.
Trust your training, do your technique, and trust yourself. Don't worry about what they're doing. Trust what you do.
And punt it out of bounds, which is what he's trying to do, but it's kind of a shank. What a great bounce Bowden got. Looked like it was heading out near the 25-yard line. It rolls all the way down to the 10 and takes a lot of time off the clock. Bowden knows he was very fortunate. That turned out to be much better than it should have been. 29 yards in all.
I think Frank Beamer gave him the fisheye after that one and said, you got away with one right there, friend.
So they need to go 90 yards. Officially it would be 89 for the Huskers. The ball just beyond the 10. Field goal does them no good, and they're out of timeouts. Not as desperate a situation as it can be, but there is hope for Nebraska. Gans forced back into the end zone. Throws on the run. Caught. But is it in bounds? Yes, it is. No, they're going to stop the clock to move the chains. Or will they reset it and wind the clock after they set the chains? Now Paul made the catch.
I'm looking at Bud Foster. I deepen everybody. Don't worry about it. Get deep and protect the end zone and any trick stuff.
20-yard gain. They did wind the clock. Gann steps into it. Down the middle it goes. Peterson fumbled the football. And Dorian Porch came away with it. And that's going to do it. Virginia Tech has the ball back with 5 seconds to go. Looked like Stephon Virgil knocked him out.
They lost the opportunity. And Peterson, if you catch it, get down and get the first down, especially if you have 4 guys converging on you. And you see Stephon Virgil puts the hat on the arm, pops the ball loose, and a wise decision right there to get down on the ground by Porch.
Taylor takes a knee, and a huge win for the Hokies, delighting the thousands of fans who made the trip out here to Lincoln. They've won 4 in a row. And Nebraska loses for the first time this year. They're now 3-1, and it's the first loss for Bo Pelini as a head coach. He had been 4-0, including that Alamo Bowl win in 03 when he was the interim coach for Nebraska. Joe Gans and the Huskers fell down by 18 points, tried to rally, and could not pull off the comeback. Frank Beamer said, we're young and talented, we're going to be good. They were good tonight. They win 35-30. Now for Chris Spielman, Aaron Andrews, and the rest of our ABC HD crew, I'm Sean McDonough saying so long from Lincoln, Nebraska.